The rain had been falling for hours, a relentless downpour that battered the windows and seeped through the old shingles of the Anderson house. Inside, the hum of the furnace was the only sound that dared to challenge the storm's fury. 17-year-old Lily Anderson sat on the couch in the living room, her gaze fixed on the flickering shadows cast by the fire in the hearth. Her parents were away for the weekend, leaving her alone in the sprawling, creaky house nestled on the outskirts of town. The clock on the mantel chimed midnight, a sound swallowed almost immediately by the storm. Lily sighed and adjusted the blanket around her shoulders, the warmth of the fire contrasting sharply with the chill that permeated the room. She was used to being alone, but tonight the storm seemed to whisper unsettling secrets, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist in eerie, unfamiliar ways. She reached for the remote and flicked through channels, the television's static-filled display providing little distraction from her growing unease. The storm intensified, and the wind howled like a banshee outside, rattling the windows with a ferocity that made Lily shiver. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the house into an oppressive darkness. Lily's heart raced as she scrambled to find her phone, using its dim light to navigate the room. She fumbled with the flashlight in the drawer of the side table and managed to get it working. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the familiar contours of the living room, but with the shadows now stretching ominously. A loud thud echoed from the upper floor, jolting Lily from her thoughts. Her heart pounded in her chest as she hesitated, the logical part of her mind insisting it was just the house settling. But the sound had been too deliberate, too heavy to ignore. With a shaky breath, she ascended the creaking stairs, her flashlight barely illuminating the steps before her. The storm outside seemed to amplify the noise, each gust of wind causing the old house to groan and shudder. Lily reached the top of the stairs and made her way down the hallway, her flashlight flickering intermittently. The darkness seemed to close in around her, making every corner and shadow feel like a potential threat. She stopped outside her parents' bedroom, the source of the noise seemingly coming from within. Taking a deep breath, she turned the doorknob slowly, the hinges squealing in protest. The door creaked open, revealing an empty room bathed in the faint light of the flashlight. The bed was undisturbed, and there was no sign of anything amiss. Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, feeling slightly foolish for letting her imagination get the better of her. As she turned to leave, a sudden movement caught her eye. The closet door was slightly ajar, and Lily saw something shift within. Her pulse quickened as she approached the closet, her flashlight illuminating the darkened interior. She opened the door fully, revealing a pile of old clothes and boxes. She took a step closer, her flashlight beam sweeping over the clutter, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. Just as she was about to close the door, a chill ran down her spine. The temperature in the room seemed to drop, and she felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. Spinning around, Lily faced the hallway, but saw nothing. She was about to dismiss the sensation as nerves when she heard it, a low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from all around her. Her flashlight flickered violently before going out completely, plunging her into absolute darkness. Panic set in as she fumbled to turn it back on, but the beam remained stubbornly dead. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of eerie voices blending into one another. Lily could barely make out the words, but they were unmistakably sinister. "Come find me," they seemed to chant, repeating over and over in a haunting refrain. Her breath came in short, ragged gasps as she backed away from the closet, her mind racing to make sense of the situation. In the pitch-black hallway, the temperature continued to plummet, and Lily felt the oppressive weight of the darkness closing in around her. Desperate for light, she groped along the walls until she found a small nightlight in the hall. She plugged it in, its faint glow casting an eerie, distorted light that did little to dispel the shadows. The whispering abruptly stopped, replaced by an ominous silence that pressed heavily against her ears. Lily felt a surge of dread and curiosity mixed together, compelling her to explore further. She moved cautiously down the hallway, each step echoing in the stillness. As she neared the attic door, she saw that it was slightly ajar. The attic had always been a source of unease for Lily. a place filled with dusty relics and forgotten memories. But now the door's slight opening seemed to beckon her with a malevolent invitation. Taking another deep breath, Lily approached the attic door, her flashlight's weak beam casting long, unsettling shadows. With trembling hands, she pushed the door open and ascended the narrow stairs to the attic. The space was vast and filled with old furniture covered in white sheets, their ghostly outlines adding to the atmosphere of dread. Lily's flashlight illuminated the attic's corners, revealing old trunks and dusty pictures hanging on the walls. In the far corner of the attic, she spotted a large, ornate mirror draped in a heavy cloth. The whispering started again, this time more urgent and frantic. With a mix of fear and resolve, Lily approached the mirror and pulled the cloth away. The mirror's surface was cracked and clouded with age, but Lily could still see her own reflection staring back at her. Suddenly, the reflection in the mirror changed. A shadowy figure appeared behind her, its features obscured and its presence menacing. Lily spun around, but there was nothing there. When she looked back at the mirror, the figure was gone, leaving only her own terrified face staring back. The whispering crescendoed into a deafening roar, and the attic seemed to spin around her. Lily stumbled backward, her heart pounding as she fled down the stairs. She reached the hallway and ran to the living room, the storm's rage outside now a distant roar compared to the storm of fear inside her. In the living room, she grabbed her phone and dialed her parents' number, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The call went straight to voicemail. She tried again, but the result was the same. Desperate and terrified, Lily felt an icy hand brush against her shoulder. She whirled around, but the living room was empty. The only sound was the howling wind outside and the pounding of her own heart. In the dim light of the living room, Lily saw something that froze her blood. Words written in what looked like blood scrawled across the walls. You were never alone. The storm outside seemed to intensify, and Lily knew that she had to get out of the house. As she ran towards the front door, the whispering returned, louder than ever. The house groaned and creaked as if protesting her escape. Lily burst through the door and into the storm, the rain drenching her as she sprinted down the driveway, her only thought being to escape the nightmare that had come alive in her home. As she reached the safety of the street, she looked back at the Anderson house. The lights flickered on briefly, then went dark again. The house stood silent and still, but Lily knew that whatever had haunted her that night still lurked within, waiting for its next victim. Lily never returned to the house, and the Andersons' home remained empty, a dark reminder of the horrors that can emerge from the shadows of solitude and the stormy night that revealed them.